Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Alhamdulillah, wa salatu wa salamu ala rasulillah wa ala alihi wa sahbihi ajma'een, amma ba'd. The title, my experience with conferences is we have really awesome sounding titles, and then even the speakers looking at it and saying, what does that mean? How to figure out what this means. But anyway, one of the titles suggested for this program was One Ummah, Many Faces. And it got me thinking about what I want to share with you. I know, I'm aware that many volunteers, I'd like to see a show of hands. How many volunteers are in the audience? Okay, good. A good number of volunteers are here. So I'll bear you in mind. You'll be my primary audience, and the rest of you accidentally happen to be here. And you're welcome also. So I'm going to start with the term ummah, because we say one ummah, right? And the Quran uses this word in a number of ways. It can be used for a nation. It can be used for a civilization. It can also be used for a very small group of people. In fact, when Musa alayhi salam escaped from Egypt and ended up in Madian, and he saw a group of people that were feeding their animals, they were giving their animals water. وَجَدَ عَلَيْهِ أُمَّةً مِّنَ النَّاسِ يَسْقُونَ. He found an ummah of people that were giving water, right? So the word ummah can be used for even a small group of people. So when we think of an ummah now, we have kind of almost always associated with this global enterprise, right? The ummah means every ethnicity of Muslims all around the world, and that is the ummah. But actually, your neighborhood Muslims are also an ummah. And the people that you're working with, the volunteer teams are also within the ummah and ummah. And that's why even within the larger context of the ummah, Allah says, وَلْتَكُمْ مِنْكُمْ ummah, right? So even Surah Al-Imran, an ummah should form within you, or should be within you, that does something good. يَدْعُونَ إِلَى الْخَيْرِ وَيَأْمُرُونَ بِالْمَعْرُوفِ وَيَنْهَوْنَ عَنِ الْمُنْكَرِ. So that's the first thing I wanted you to be cognizant of. We think of, why isn't the ummah united? So what that means is, why isn't Pakistan united with Bangladesh, with Afghanistan, with the Muslims in Sri Lanka, why aren't we all one? No. This you're being unrealistic. The idea here, first and foremost, is when you say, why isn't the ummah united? Why can't I get along with like the 20 people that I attend Friday prayer with that I know and I hate their guts, but I keep posting about the ummah being united, right? So why am I not getting along with my cousins or my friends or with some of the friends I have or foes I have at the MSA at university, but I want to talk about the ummah being united, right? So let's first be realistic about what the term actually means. It's the smallest circle and then gradually expanding to larger circles. That's the first thing. The second thing I want to bring to your attention is that the Quran uses multiple terms for groups of people. And ummah is one of several terms. So for instance, the word qawm is very common in the Quran, and it's used for the nations of previous peoples, and even the nations of prophets, many of them. The prophets would say, Ya qawmi, my people, my nation, right? And you can think of qawm as the generic term for people. And if you look at the origins of the word, some have argued that this actually has to do with the lineage or descendancy of a people. So if, the ethnicity of a people makes them a qawm, right? But that's not the only definition, but that is a popular definition in Arabic, that qawm actually has to do with ethnicity. And therefore it ties back to tribes, right? Another term in the Quran for a group of people or a collective of people is actually jam'a, right? سَيُهْزَمُ الْجَمْعُ وَيُوَلُّونَ الدُّبُرِ. Jam'a is a gathering of any kind. Like for Friday prayer, we're a jama'ah, or this is a gathering of people, so this is a jam'a also. The day of judgment, every human being will be gathered. That's yawmul jam'a. It's the day of gathering, right? So it's not a gathering because people are the same ethnicity. It's not a gathering of any, almost you can say there's no necessary common denominator for a jam'a. It could be like there's a market and people have come to the mall for different reasons. Some people really need to shop for something. Some people are bored. Some people are people watching. Some people are just looking for a job. They've come for all different reasons, but together they are a jam'a. So that's another word used in the Quran for a group of people. I won't go through all of them, but just a couple more. Another interesting word is the word usba. Usba. I'll do usba and firqa. I think those are our firq. Those are cool words to note. So usba in Arabic actually has to do with the joints of a bone, the strongest joints of a bone. So your spinal bone can also be called a asab, and the joints that hold your fingers together can also be called isba and asab. So and things that are tied together Like if you knot something or tie something and bind it, and you keep binding it and binding it, then you're actually making it ma'soob. You're tying it really, really tight, right? So the idea of a usba are people that have come together, that are very closely knit with each other, and as a result, they don't let any outsider in, and they keep themselves from others. Like they're united in strength, and from it, it's, even though it's a modern usage, it's not a classical usage of Arabic, but many Arabs here may have heard the term asabiyya, which roughly translates into prejudice against other groups, right? So, but it comes from the idea that there are some groups of people that are they like to be around others that are like them, and they tie themselves around them so tightly and hold on to that joint, that separating from that or letting somebody else in is like allowing an alien entity into your body. If somebody gets shot or somebody gets a piece of glass stuck in their body, it's an alien entity that the body rejects, right? So a usba rejects alien entities. It rejects because it only allows the same kinds of people within, right? This was used by the brothers of Yusuf when they called themselves وَنَحْنُ عُصْبَةٌ, right? A final word before we get to ummah is actually firqa or firq, and fariq. It's also, fariqul fil jannah, etc., right? So the word firq and farq was actually used originally to describe palm trees that are distinctly separate from other palm trees. Now, palm trees, by the way, obviously Arab vocabulary, so Arabian visuals, and palm trees are a signature of the Arabian landscape. But additionally, other trees, if you're looking, for example, in Minnesota, and you look in the distance, you see woods up on the mountains or on the hill, you cannot distinguish one tree from another because they're so dense. But if you look at palm trees in the distance, you can tell each one of them apart. And from it came the idea of things that are distinguishable from each other. And a fariq identifies itself by telling you how different they are from the other group. Right? So teams can be a fariq, a military can be a fariq. Why? Because its emblems, its uniform, its flag is different, distinguishable from the other group. And you might find parallels in the Muslim landscape too, and other religions too. There are some, like Christianity has many denominations, and some Christians wear certain specific kinds of crucifixes to identify that they are this denomination of Christianity. And some religious traditions have specific kinds of, you can say, outfits or gear, and you can tell, oh, these people are Buddhist, or these people are this class of Hindu, et cetera, right? And you might find, even in the Muslim world, even within the same geography, not even one country versus another, within the same geography, you might find some people dressed a very specific kind of way to let people know we belong to this group of Muslims. Right? So they identify themselves with some distinguishing outfits or clothes or colors, things like that, right? And it's not just about clothes and colors. They may use language, or they may use some kind of, I call it loyalty test, to tell if you belong within the group or not. Like I remember one time I went to a masjid in New York many years ago, and I was much younger. I walked in and the brother stopped me. He goes, "Hey, Aki." I was like, "What?" He goes, "You on the sunnah?" And I was like, I think this is you guys don't watch movies because you're Islamic, but like sometimes you knock on like the underground and the guy opens the metal thing and you have to give the code word, and then he opens the door. He was like, "You on the sunnah?" And I'm like, this is one of those code word questions that will determine my well-being over the next hour. So I was like, "Isn't everybody?" So he goes, "Yeah." All right. So the salam isn't enough. But anyway, let me get to the point. And the point is the word ummah, which Allah uses to describe not just us. Interestingly, famously people quote the ayah, "Inna hadhihi ummatukum ummatan wahida," occurs a couple of times in the Quran. This, in fact, is your ummah, a single ummah, right? And the grammar of that ayah is fascinating. I'll tell you about that if we get a little bit of time. But right now I want to focus on something else. You would think when you hear that ayah, this is your ummah, a single ummah. He's talking about you. Doesn't matter which tribe you came from, if you're from the migrants of Makkah, if you're from Medina, if you're from Aus, if you're from Khazraj, you're all just one ummah. But if you look at the ayat before it, Allah is talking about prophets that came and died thousands of years ago. And then He says, "Inna hadhihi ummatukum ummatan wahida." This is your ummah. So He's not connecting the Sahaba necessarily to just each other. He's connecting them to people they never met, people who never shared a language with them, people who never shared a geography with them, people who never shared a culture with them, didn't share any family ties with them. These people came way, way back. And he's connecting all of them from different eras and centuries to them and saying, all of this is your ummah, a single ummah. What that does, first, the thing you should note about this, the term ummah, it's not just about racial diversity. It's not just about that. And it's not just about geographical diversity. The word ummah, in its etymology, in its origin, comes from amma ya ummu. And even the word tayammama is actually ta'ammama originally, right? Arguably, the etymology of ya can be a hamza too. What this means is qasada, is to head towards something with a purpose. So if you know, like some people are just walking around. Like, hey, there's a convention. Let's go this way. Let's go that way. They don't have qasd. They don't have intentful walk. But when you, hey, I have to get to this room, or you're following your GPS, or you're following Google Maps, and turn left here, turn right here, then you have an exact set of direction, then amamta ilayhi, you headed towards it, with intent. You're intentfully heading in a direction. A group of people are called ummah when they have a shared goal. They have a shared intent. They're all trying to get to the shared destination. Remember the example I gave you of Musa alayhi salam running into people that were all sharing the same purpose. They all want their animals to drink the water. So they became an ummah. From that came the concept that we are not a qawm, we're not a usba, we're not a fariq, we're not a jama'ah, we are an ummah. We are an ummah. So what unites us is actually a shared sense of purpose. We're all drinking from the same well. We're all taking from the same fountain. And in a sense, because of that shared, commonality between us, it doesn't just bind us to each other, it binds us equally to previous prophets and those who believed in them. So we don't think of them as, previous prophets. We think of them as fellow Muslims, part of this ummah. Even Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam was told, فَبِهُدَاهُ مُقْتَدِهِ, right? Commit yourself to their guidance. Our messenger, sallallahu alaihi wasallam, the greatest messenger, the final messenger, is being told, commit yourself to the guidance of people who came before. Because in terms of commitment to guidance, you're committed to the same purpose, the same cause. Now, this is the theory. But now, in these last few minutes, I just want to share with you something that is, again, let's come back to the volunteers who are the VIPs today, inshallah, and talk about what this all means. You've volunteered probably dozens and dozens, if not hundreds of hours to help put this program together. And now the day of this convention is finally here. And because we live in the age of social media, the value of something is determined by numbers. Right? So if it's a successful convention, this many thousand people came. And if it's an unsuccessful convention, only this many hundred came, or this many dozen came, or there were this many empty seats. Nobody came. So numbers decide whether something is successful or unsuccessful. We are an ummah that is connected to, for example, Nuh alayhi salam. If Nuh alayhi salam is doing da'wah every year, every day for him is a da'wah convention, for 950 years, and somebody says, so let's see your growth chart. Like, did your social media presence increase a lot? Do you have a better following? Are you getting higher ratings? What kind of comments? Are you getting positive comments under every one of your speeches? Like, if you imagine judging Nuh alayhi salam on social media metrics, right, then he's not getting a lot of likes, and he's not getting a lot of shares. In fact, he's being blocked by a lot of people, right? And he's getting a lot of he's getting flagged, and there are petitions to ban him, right, from speaking. And he's not becoming more popular as the days go by. He's actually becoming less popular. He's becoming less popular. And by today's standards, by the world standards, 15 minutes, cool. I thought I was done. Okay, so by the world standards, that's a failure. There's no growth. You used to have X many followers last year. How many followers do you have this year? His numbers don't seem to increase much. In fact, they might even decrease at some point, right? And Allah is saying, you, volunteers, are the same ummah as the likes of Nuh alayhi salam. Why am I telling you that? Because your gauge of whether you're doing something meaningful or not does not come from optics. It does not come from how things look. It does not come from how many people appreciated, or how many people attended, or how did the photo look, or how many people viewed the stream, etc. It doesn't come from any of that. None of that is part of this ummah's purpose. This is a distraction. People that have a direct purpose, like if you're following your destination on a GPS and you're driving, and then on the left side you see some park or something, you're like, let me just pull over there. Then you're not strong enough in your purpose. You have a flight to catch, you got a lecture to catch, you got a doctor's appointment, you got to get there on time. You don't have time to be distracted. What we've done now in Islamic work, unfortunately, because we are just human, right? So it's inevitable. There are distractions that have now become embedded within our thought process of serving this deen and being of service. And you have to consciously separate those two things. You have to consciously separate those two things. The other thing is, there's this idea that when you do something good, you should broadcast it. If you do something good, the world should know that you did something good. So not you, because you guys are mashallah, so I'll use myself as a hypothetical. Hey guys, I'm at this convention, it's gonna be awesome, I'm here for the sake of Allah alone. But I wanted you to know that I'm here for the sake of Allah. So make dua for me, okay? May Allah accept. So you really want Allah to accept, but you also want oh, mashallah, wish I was there, mashallah, alhamdulillah, so much dua for you. You know, I don't know what this emoji is, but I don't know, there's a call to Hindu. I don't know what is this, but so, but there's a need to broadcast what I'm doing. And you know, for encouraging other people to be part of something, but that's great. But it's not really that, is it, many times? A lot of times it's just a projection of my own self, and I want to be seen. I want to be acknowledged. I want to be appreciated, and a human desire to be seen. Now, the truth is, you don't have any value unless you're seen. If you don't have a post, if you don't have a presence, if you don't have views, if you don't have likes, you know, then do you even exist, right? So our actual existence has now been overshadowed by a virtual existence. And now we're bringing that into the Islamic, you know, ethos. You know, so even though that has its benefit, I'm actually one of the first people to say social media has tremendous benefit. Any advancement in technology that Allah has allowed human beings to have has the power of great good. And yet, like Allah says about iron, أَنزَلْنَا الْحَدِيدِ فِيهِ بَأْسٌ شَدِيدٌ وَمَنَافِعُ لِلنَّاسِ. Allah sent iron, you can make intense war with it, and it has lots of benefits for people. Iron can be used as materials to build tanks and bombs that can destroy cities, and it's the same iron that's going into the columns of this building, that's building buildings, that's building structures. It's destructive and it's constructive, isn't it? So the same thing is true of social media. The same thing is true of your work. It can be constructive and it can also be destructive. Now, coming to you and the day you're going to have, it's not going to be an easy day for your volunteers. You're going to meet all kinds of people. Some people are going to be the Islamic Karens of the community. And they're going to come to you and say, the air conditioning is not working well. I don't understand you people. Why don't you know how ACs work? Etc. The speaker was supposed to be here 5 minutes ago. Seriously, 5 minutes? Do you think I have that kind of time? I'm a doctor, you know. Sorry to the doctors. I could have saved 3 lives by now. Okay. You're going to meet some people with some pretty spicy attitudes. People are going to be impatient. People are going to, I've been waiting for you so long, nobody even answers my question. And people are going to be upset. And you're going to be like, excuse me, hold on, let me make you famous. Go ahead, do that again. Yeah. Your job as a volunteer, in the spirit of the Quran, in the spirit of the ummah that you belong to, is that Allah has given us an opportunity to bring all kinds of people here. Some people that are attending this convention may have a drug addiction. Some people that are attending this convention may have an alcohol problem. Some people here may be in very intense need of therapy. Some people may have just come out of jail. It's possible. And some people may be victims of abuse in their family, but they came here, right? We don't know what somebody's story is. We see their attitude, and we see them getting flared up, but we don't know there's a story behind that, and it took a lot for them to come here to find something, right? And you don't know where, that their pain is translating into, unpleasant behavior. You don't know that. So your job is to acknowledge that every one of the people that's here is potentially a gift of Allah, especially to you. and your kind words to them, and your patience with them, and your service to them might just be your ticket to Jannah. That small interaction where you just smiled at somebody who was impatient, you said, I will help you, and you were kind to them, might just be the first time they've heard a kind word in months. Might just be and they might be on the verge of, I don't even want to be Muslim because Muslims are so judgmental, they're so unkind, they're so harsh. And then you came and you were kind with them and patient with them, and you didn't respond to their attitude with better attitude, right? And you broke that path that the devil was taking them on, and they're like, no, the believers are kind to each other, So adillatin ala al-mu'minin, they're humbled before other believers, and that might be a turning point for them. It may not be any speech. It may just be the 1 minute they had with you. That could be the turning point in their life. So this is the mindset with which I would encourage you to take part in this convention. The other thing I'll say is, you guys know, I'll be real with you because, by the way, how much time I got left? Because one last. I got time? I got a little bit time? A little bit time. No, I respect attention span. I want you guys to be able to process what I'm saying. So I'll share one more thing with you. I'm very talkative, as you may have noticed. So I'll just start talking to anybody, right? Alhamdulillah, I just 9 weeks ago had a baby, alhamdulillah. So my son is very beautiful, mashallah, Allah protect him. And I'm baby obsessed. So wherever I see a baby, I just need to have a conversation. Right, so this morning I was having breakfast at my hotel, and the gentleman next to me was a dad with his baby sitting up in his lap. And I was like, oh my God, how old is he? And he's like, oh, he's 14 months. And we start talking about babies, right? Complete stranger, but we're just, going back and forth about the experience and how he's doing and how the baby's doing. And I made friends with the baby. And the thing is, that especially if you're not living in New York and you're not living in California, let's take those two aside, right? The rest of this country, people are friendly. Okay? If I was in New York and I was at a cafe or a breakfast place or a hotel and somebody had a baby and I said, oh my God, how old? You're like, don't look at my baby. That's what would happen. She'd call the cops, or he'd like this person asked about my child. Like that's what would happen. But the rest of this country, very friendly. You could make friends with the cashier at the grocery store. How's it going? That's a good day. How's your day going? It's just, people are, but you know what? We have this, you see this friendly attitude, but what you don't see is that same friendly attitude among Muslims with each other. You walk by each other, you're not going to say, hey, Assalamu alaikum, where do you come from? Like, just make a friend. You'll have a much easier time making a friend with some, young man or woman or old lady or old man working at Target or working at the airport, and you could just chat it up with them. But when you walk by Muslims, they're like, you just give each other this weird half-death stare, like what? So, and we're supposed to be the people that we can give khutbahs and lectures about smiling in the face of your brother is sadaqah, and afshu salam, spread salam, right? So especially the young men here, I need you to learn something that you may not have acquired as much because you may be online too much. I need you to become more social with your own gender, this convention. Become more social. Just if you're at the bazaar, hey, that book, yeah. So why'd you pick that book? And at first you might be like, weirdo, let me read my book. No, I just want to know. And just make friends with people. Make connections with people, right? And those connections can actually become something very meaningful. One of the most precious things you might get out of this day may actually be the real brotherhood and sisterhood connections you make. But that doesn't depend on other. You can't say, nobody even came up to me and talked to me. They don't even believe I exist. I felt like I was invisible. That is your problem. That's not their problem. Why do you act invisible? Stop being a weirdo and a loner. And talk to people, make friends with people, connect with people, and connect with elders as you would connect with youth, just find some stranger and say, let's have, in the break, let's have a tea together, let's have a coffee together. Tell me about yourself. Tell me about your story. Learn something about each other. This is actually really powerful. And conventions have lectures, yes, but now you guys can get lectures of mine And you could get bored with one of them and switch over to Mufti Menk and then switch over to somebody. You could switch so quickly. You know, it's much harder to swipe me away when I'm here and you're stuck in this room and it's awkward for you to walk out. You're waiting for this to end. It's harder, right? So I don't even believe it's the lectures. That's the main draw or the main benefit that will come out of this kind of a convention, or the large gatherings of people sitting in a chair staring in one direction. That's good. It's beneficial. But it's what happens before then and after then, right? That's actually where this day's experience will become beautiful. Muslims, it's time we stopped feeling like we're a minority, we're weak, our identity's in crisis, there's too much fitna in America, et cetera, how are we going to hold on to this wave of kufr and fitna? And stop pretending you're weak. We're very strong. Look at the numbers just in this room. If just this many people knew each other, if this many people had friendships with each other, isn't that you're part of you have a strong backbone, right? And what binds us together, what gives us why should you even become friends with someone? You should have something fundamental in common with them. Well, we have something so powerful in common with each other. We have Allah and His Messenger, sallallahu alaihi wasallam. We have the Book of Allah. We have the legacy of His Prophet, alayhi salatu wasalam. What could be more powerful than that? Building a friendship on top of that is so powerful. It's so beautiful. So do that today. Do that today. And do that even volunteers with the staff, with the crowd, and volunteers with each other. Final thing is only for the volunteers now. You will get on each other's nerves today. You will text someone, hey, I need you to meet me here, and they're not going to meet you there, and they're not going to respond to your message, and you're going to keep checking, and there's still one check and not two checks, and you're going to feel like, who does this person think he is? And there's going to be a lot of friction, unspoken friction within the teams, because that's what shaitan wants. Inna shaytana yanzaghu bainakum. Right? Shaitan wants to create discord, not the platform, within you. He wants to create chaos within you. And the way he does that is he makes you frustrated with the people that are also serving. Right? Oh, I don't even know why this person's a team lead. Have you seen them? I have to follow them. So you have questions about your team lead. Or this person got given a responsibility. Why didn't they give me that responsibility? I could have done it much better. And you have this ananiya, like it should have been me, it should have been me. Like, leave your main character syndrome aside. Me and you all together, we're a team. This convention, I'm speaking here today multiple times, and I'm telling you about myself, and that you and I are a team. And my job with the mic in front of me is not more important than your job that you might feel we're doing one thing. And I'm not able to do what I do if you're not able to do what you do. So I should be able to get the reward of your good, and you should be able to get the reward of my good, right? That's the attitude that even if we don't know each other, we haven't spoken to each other. I don't know your names, but you know what? We're still an ummah in this cause. And as for the attendees that are here, my request to you guys is appreciate the volunteers that have spent so much time away from other things they could be doing to help this possible. Don't bring entitlement, bring a sense of acknowledgement and appreciation. If you have criticism, make it constructive instead. Hey, a suggestion for next year, where can I give it? That might improve things. Don't think of a convention as some people did it and you're just here as a customer. No, this is a family venture. We're building a home together as a large family. So when there's something off in one of the bricks and some window's not installed properly, that's all of our problem. Right? So instead of whining and crying about the window, hey, I think I know how to fix that. Can I talk to someone on how to fix that? Because this is something the community builds together. And that sense of togetherness, that's what I call really a sense of ummah. May Allah Azza wa Jal increase that spirit in us of being a single ummah. May Allah Azza wa Jal make us empathetic towards others, and especially their unknown challenges in life. May Allah Azza wa Jal make us soft-hearted towards one another. And may Allah Azza wa Jal fill this entire day with His countless blessings. Barakallahu li wa lakum. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi ta'ala wa barakatuh.
So inshallah, I'll ask all the brothers and sisters in the room to join me in giving a warm round of applause for Sheikh Nouman Ali Khan for this amazing lecture. So, mashallah, in Arabic, the concept of balagha or eloquence is the ability to summarize a lot of meaning in short words. And Sheikh Nouman, mashallah, gave us a beautiful example of well-worded advice for the volunteers, for the attendees, for the young and for the old. And as I was sitting, one of the interesting things, Sheikhna, is a question people wanted to ask. It kept repeating. And the interesting thing is the oldest volunteer with the convention this year is 71 years old. The youngest volunteer, well, it really depends what you define as a volunteer, but the youngest volunteer is 13 years old. And it just so happened, it was unplanned, that both of them are texting me at the same time. I'm like, I really shouldn't be reading text messages on the stage, you guys. That's not really a thing. But a lot of people have asked this question, and so I thought I would present it to you, and maybe we can get some words of advice from you. The volunteers who are here today, who obviously are facilitating the convention for others to attend and to learn. And they're going to miss on most of what's happening. But I just happen to know that many of the volunteers here, old and young, are students of knowledge. They want to learn Islam, and they want to learn the Quran. And the challenge for a lot of the volunteers here today, especially the ones in the room that I am seeing, and I happen to be working with them, is mastery of Arabic is just non-existent. Arabic is a very challenging concept for them, and so connecting with the Quran on a deeper level is particularly challenging. And this seems to be right up your alley. So if you have some words of advice for us on that, it would be great. Jazakumullah khair.
Okay, so I'll answer the question you asked and the question you didn't ask. I'll start with the question you didn't ask. So volunteers are going to be busy all day. They're not going to get to attend any sessions because they're going to be too busy helping a mom find a place where she can change a diaper or something, right? So they're not going to attend, and they're going to feel like, FOMO, right? So I'm volunteering this, I'm announcing this now for the volunteers especially. If your parents don't kill you by the end of tonight and you still have permission, I'm going to give a special session just for the volunteers to ask whatever questions they want, whatever discussions they want to have, because they should be acknowledged, especially outside of the speeches. So that's just for you guys, volunteers, inshallah. Okay. But as for your Arabic question, the biggest challenge to studying the Arabic language is psychological. It is intimidation. It is a language like any other, except that Allah blessed it with special abilities, special richness, right? So instead of thinking of it as something really, really hard and something that's impossible to master, why are you thinking about mastery? Does a kindergartner think about mastering Shakespeare or think about learning the alphabet? Right? The only reason a kindergartner is able to learn is that their goal is like a milestone that they can see, right? And for that day, they just have to learn A and B and C, and that's a success. Yay! You know your ABCs. And then D, E, and F. Yay! But what we do is, we start with Arabic, you say, Alif, Ba, and Ta, but I don't know Shi'r Jahili. Like, I don't know the ancient Arabian poets and what they said, and, hold on. How about we get to Da first? And then next day, because, I learned this, I really like this analogy. Some of the most successful marathon runners in the world that have broken world records were asked what their secret was, other than the training and the nutrition and all that stuff. What's the psychological training? Because really learning is psychological, isn't it? They said, when I'm running, I don't care how many days I'm going to run. When I'm running, I just see a tree in front of me, and that's my finish line. That's my finish line. And as soon as I get to that tree, I see a mailbox, and that's my finish line. I don't worry about nothing else. Once I get there, I have won. Now I'm going to start the next race, and that's my finish line. And I want you to adopt that mentality. Instead of being intimidated by all the stuff you don't know. If the runner's thinking about the 800 miles he hasn't run yet, right? He's going to paralyze right now. He's going to fall to his knees right. He's going to buckle right now. The same way kids that are memorizing Quran, they memorize 2-3 pages, which is a huge success. But then what they do is they open the Mus'haf, they hold the 2-3 pages together, they look so skinny. Then they hold the pages they haven't memorized and look so fat, or like, I can't do this, right? So one of the first most important bits of advice I will give you as a teacher is celebrate the small milestones and don't think of them as insignificant. Once you develop that mentality, every milestone will not just be a powerful source of learning, but it will stay with you for life. So for example, if you're learning a concept in Arabic, and by the way, this advice I'm giving you works in even if you're in university or in med school, this works. This works, right? But in Arabic, if you're learning one single concept and you're having a hard time with it, what happens to many of you? Because I've been a teacher a long time. You know what happens? Arabic is so hard. Oh my God, it's so impossible. I don't get it. I don't get any. No. You didn't get this one concept. And what do you say, drama queen and drama king? Arabic is so hard. It's like I don't understand anything. No, you're lying. It's not that you don't understand anything. You don't understand this one thing, and you're blowing it out of proportion and saying, I don't understand anything. My life is over. I give up. That's it. Get me some pizza. Right? So stop blowing your one failure out of proportion. Some of you are very sharp students. You get good grades in school. You're smart. And then because you're being told, you're so smart, you're so smart, you're so smart, you're like, yeah, I'm smart. It's so easy for me. And then you start studying. And when you start studying Arabic, the first time you find something hard. So you haven't had any difficulty your whole educational life because things came easy for you. And now the first time you hit an Arabic lesson that was actually hard, you're like, I feel so stupid. I feel like I can't do this. This is not because you're stupid, it's just because you never had the opportunity, the glory of facing something difficult before. And that doesn't mean that all this time where you believed you're smart was all a lie, and today is proof that you are actually an idiot. This is how you talk to yourself. Stop talking to yourself this way. That's just one problem that you cannot solve. That's one tree, like the marathon, that's one tree you're having a hard time getting to, right? Because it's particularly steep. So what do? You slow down, you say, I get A, I get B, I get C, I'm having a hard time with D. Can you help me with D? Can you focus on this problem instead of making this a disaster for you and saying, I don't know any of it. I can't do any of it, you know? When students come to me and say, Ustadh, Arabic is hard, I say, because sometimes they come to me, my own students say it's too hard. I was like, what's too hard? Arabic, be more specific. What's too hard? Everything. Be more specific. What's too hard? Today's lesson. We're getting somewhere. Was yesterday easy? Yeah, that was pretty good. So it's not everything. So today was hard? Yeah. Was the beginning hard? No. Was the second thing hard? Yeah, a little bit the second thing. See, now we're getting specific. So this was hard. Now let's make this easy. Once you learn to pinpoint your pain points, you have to become, as a student, you will fail if you don't learn this skill. You have to identify exactly where your pain point is and address that pain point. How many people here play video games? I'll raise my hand up high. You know that boss that you just can't beat? Right? That boss that just, like Mario Kart and the blue shell, right at the finish line, right before, the blue shell of death. You become upset. I will beat this boss no matter what. You will do tahajjud with the video game. You will qiyamul layl, whatever it takes. You will beat that boss. And after you beat that boss, there will be a sense of you have won the battle of Badr. When you've done that. I want you to think of difficult lessons in your education like that. That one tough lesson is a video game boss. You got to beat that. You got to find a way of beating that boss. And you've got to put more energy. You shouldn't get deflated by the difficulty. You should get energized by the difficulty. And once you conquer that, you should feel a sense of accomplishment to the point where you can tell your fellow students, by the way, the mudaf and mudaf ilayh, let me tell you how it works. Man, this one was hard for me, but now I know the secret cheat code. Let me tell you the cheat code. So this is the mentality I want you to develop. Don't be intimidated by learning, certainly not by Arabic. Allah says everything around the Quran is easy. Allah will make Arabic easy for you too. Just have the right commitment, grit, and mindset. Jazakumullah khairan.